I thought it was just a phase, but every time he knocked, my heart trembled. They said college would be the time I found myself. I just didn't think I'd find him. His name was Eli. 6'2", shoulders like the front line of a football team, and a smile that could smooth over even the roughest kind of shame. But none of that mattered the first time he knocked on my door. What mattered was that I opened it, and my world split in two. Freshman year at a liberal arts college in upstate New York isn't where most kids from Houston, Texas, end up. Especially not kids like me, quiet, inward, the kind of boy who always brought his lunch and ate it alone. But my dad had always said, you want to find your way in life, you better walk far enough away to see it. So I walked. Or ran. I met Eli 3 days after I moved in. I was still unpacking, peeling duct tape off cardboard when I heard that knock. Firm. Confident. Like the guy on the other side had knocked 1,000 doors and never got turned away. When I opened it, he was standing there with a half-eaten protein bar, looking like he'd just walked out of a Nike ad sweat-soaked tank, low basketball shorts, tattoos running like secret messages down both arms. You got a plunger? He asked, without even a hello. I blinked. What? Plunger. My roommate flushed a Cliff Bar down the toilet. I don't know how. I just anyway, you got one? It was the dumbest introduction imaginable. And maybe that's why I remember it so clearly. Not the muscles, not the bar, not the half-smile, but the fact that I handed him my shower caddy instead of answering. He took it without question. You're cool, he said. Name's Eli. Then he winked. I told myself it didn't mean anything. Guys like Eli winked at everyone. They didn't come back. But 3 days later, he did. Another knock. I owe you, he said. For the caddy. You want pizza? That's how it started. Not with a kiss. Not with a glance across the lecture hall or a fumbled hand in the dark. It started with pizza. With pepperoni grease and shared silence on the common room couch, with laughter that came easier than it had in months, maybe years. And then came the night everything shifted. It was raining. Hard. The kind of thunderstorm that felt like God was shaking the sky loose. Eli showed up soaked, no umbrella, basketball under one arm and a bag of gummy worms in the other. I hate thunder, he said, sitting on the edge of my bed. Like, irrationally. My older brother used to scare the hell out of me with it. I didn't know what to say. So I offered him a hoodie. You ever just think about how weird life is? He asked, pulling the hoodie over his drenched head. Only every minute of it. He nodded. Then he looked at me. And I mean really looked at me like I was something he hadn't planned to find but wasn't ready to let go of. You're different, Jamie. I swallowed. Good different? Yeah, he said, after a pause. Dangerous different. I didn't sleep that night. That's the thing about being closeted in a world that prides itself on being open. You learn how to read between words, how to decode looks and silences, how to protect the little flame you carry without letting it burn you alive. Eli kept coming back. We never called them dates, but they were. Coffee at the off-campus diner. Long walks that turned into longer talks. Movie nights where neither of us looked at the screen. He always sat just a little too close. I never moved. It wasn't until Thanksgiving break that I admitted it to myself. He was the only person I said goodbye to before heading to the airport. He walked me to the shuttle, hands shoved into his jacket pockets, hoodie half-zipped despite the cold. You got someone picking you up back home? He asked. Yeah. My sister. He hesitated. You gonna miss me? It should have been a joke. I was waiting for the smirk, the elbow nudge, the classic Eli brush-off. But he just stood there. Eyes locked on mine. Serious. I opened my mouth. Closed it again. Yeah, I said, so quietly I wasn't sure I even meant for him to hear. He nodded once. Then reached out and touched my shoulder. I'll miss you too, Jamie. When I came back, something was different. He didn't knock the first night. Or the second. I waited. I left my door cracked. I even wandered the halls like a lost dog hoping for a familiar bark. On the fourth night, I heard the knock. When I opened it, Eli didn't say anything. He just walked in, shut the door behind him, and stood there staring at me like I'd changed and he couldn't figure out how. You cut your hair, he finally said. Just a trim. He looked down at his shoes. I missed you. I wanted to say something clever. Something safe. But my throat felt full of static. Then he stepped closer. And I did too. We didn't kiss. Not that night. But he slept over. Fully clothed. One pillow between us. But his arm found its way under my neck somewhere around 3 a.m., and I didn't move. That was the moment. The one that tipped it all over the edge. After that, the gravity between us grew unbearable. Our friends started to notice. Some joked. Others stared too long. Eli's roommate Sam pulled him aside one night in the stairwell. I wasn't supposed to hear, but I did. You know what they're saying, right? Sam hissed. Eli didn't answer. That your thing gay for him. Still no answer. Sam laughed, cruel and sharp. Whatever, man. Just don't come crying when he dumps you for some theater twink. I didn't hear what Eli said back. But his door slammed hard enough to shake mine. After that, things got messy. We started arguing about stupid things, classes, meal plans, whether Die Hard was a Christmas movie. He'd go quiet mid-sentence. I'd get cold when he shut down. But the worst night came in February. He kissed me. Not a maybe kiss. Not an accident. A full, hungry, heart-on-the-line kind of kiss. It happened in my room. Lights off. Rain again. Always the rain. He kissed me like he was drowning and I was air. And then he pulled back and looked terrified. I can't do this, he said, his voice cracking. My chest felt hollow. Do what? This. Us. Whatever this is. I'm not like you. You think this is easy for me? He shook his head. You don't get it, Jamie. My dad me whole familithid cut me off. I barely got out of Alabama alive. I stared at him. Then why did you kiss me? He didn't answer. Just grabbed his jacket and left. I didn't see him for 6 days. 6 days of pacing, of pretending, of trying not to break. I kept checking my door like he might reappear. He didn't. Then the knock came. And everything changed again. It was 2:13 a.m. I had just started to believe he wasn't coming back, not just that night, but ever. I'd been lying in bed, headphones in, drowning in a playlist that I swore I'd never show anyone. Every song was about him. Every lyric tasted like regret. Then that knock soft this time. I froze. It wasn't like the other knocks. It was hesitant. Almost scared. Like he was asking for permission just by the way his knuckles touched the wood. I opened the door. Eli stood there, hood up, face pale, fists shoved into his sleeves like he was hiding from himself. I thought you weren't coming back, I said. I almost didn't. Silence. Heavy and uneven. He glanced down the hallway, then stepped in without waiting for me to invite him. I shut the door. He just stood there, staring at the carpet like it held answers. I'm sorry, he said finally. For that night. For kissing you and then running. I panicked. You kissed me like you meant it. He nodded slowly. I did. I wanted to scream. Or cry. Or maybe just reach out and shake him until everything made sense again. But I'm scared, he said, his voice barely a whisper. I don't know how to be this. I don't know how to be us. I swallowed. There doesn't have to be an us if you don't want it. His eyes snapped up to meet mine. That's the thing. I do. And then because maybe I'd waited long enough I walked toward him. He didn't move as I stepped closer. He just breathed, shallow and shaky, like someone who had been underwater too long and finally found air. You're not broken, I said. You're just learning. He looked at me like that was the first time anyone had told him that. Then he kissed me again. And this time, he didn't run. After that night, everything changed. But not in the way I'd hoped. We were careful. Too careful. No holding hands on campus. No texts that could be screenshot. No late-night walks unless we took different paths and met somewhere private. It was like we were hiding a secret inside a secret. Eli never said the word. Not even in whispers. Not even in the dark. I said it once. We were lying on my bed, his head on my chest, my fingers tangled in his hair. I think I'm falling in love with you, I said, so softly it could have been mistaken for a breath. He didn't respond. He just tightened his grip on my shirt and held me like he was afraid I'd vanish. The silence hurt more than I let on. Weeks passed. Spring arrived. Campus thawed. But between us, something was still frozen. One night, I found him sitting outside the library steps, hoodie pulled over his face, shoulders shaking. Eli. He looked up. His eyes were red. What happened? He didn't answer. Just handed me his phone. A screenshot. It was from his brother. The caption said, "So it's true, huh? You really are a foot." Beneath it was a blurry photo of Uzmi and Eli walking back from the lake house party. I remembered that night. I remembered the way his hand had brushed mine. Someone had caught it. My cousin follows you on Instagram, he said, voice flat. He must have sent it to my brother. I don't know how many people in my family have seen it. I sat down beside him. Do you want me to delete it? He shook his head. That's not the point. It's already done. Silence. Then he asked the question I knew was coming. What if I lose them? And I didn't know what to say. Because maybe he would. Maybe that was the cost. But I also knew what it felt like to lose yourself. To shrink. To hide. To bury your own heart so deep it forgets how to beat. I can't promise you it'll be easy, I said. But I can promise I won't let you do it alone. He looked at me then. Like I was his lifeline. Like he was deciding whether to hold on or let go. I don't want to keep hiding, he said. Then don't. He took my hand. Right there. On the library steps. And for the first time, I didn't care who saw. Coming out wasn't one big moment. It was 1,000 small ones. It was Eli correcting someone when they called me just his friend. It was me posting a picture of us, no caption, just truth. It was walking into the cafeteria and not splitting up anymore. It was awkward stares and uncomfortable questions. It was standing close even when we wanted to run. Not everyone was kind. There were whispers. A note taped to Eli's locker that said stay away from the showers. An anonymous post on Yak calling us a disgusting distraction. Eli punched a wall that night. I patched up his knuckles. But there were also moments of light. His art professor told him she was proud. My sister sent a bouquet of rainbow cookies with a note, I always knew, but I'm so glad you do too. An RA who pulled us aside and said, "You two give me hope." We started going to the LGBTQ center on campus. Quiet at first. Sitting in the back. But Eli surprised me. He volunteered to speak at the open mic night. I remember sitting in the front row, palms sweating, as he stepped onto the tiny stage. No script. No phone. Just him. "My name's Eli," he said. "And I used to think love was a thing I had to hide. But I'm done hiding. I'm in love with a boy. His name's Jamie. And I don't care who knows." The room went silent. Then someone clapped. Then another. And another. By the end of it, people were standing. I was crying. And so was he. But life wasn't a movie. There wasn't a sunset scene or a neat resolution. There were fights. About the future. About fear. About how fast we were moving. There were days he pulled away again. And nights I questioned if I was enough. But there was also this moment, just one, but I keep it like a treasure. We were walking home after finals. The air smelled like cut grass and cheap cologne. He stopped, right in the middle of the quad, and pulled me close. "You were right," he said. "About what?" This wasn't just a phase. He leaned in, forehead to mine. "I love you too." The summer after our first year wasn't what I'd expected. I thought we'd spend it together, road trips, concerts, bad motel coffee at midnight. But life had other plans. Eli's dad had a stroke in late May. His mom begged him to come back home to Montgomery, Alabama. "I have to go," he said, his fingers laced with mine as we sat in the corner booth of the diner we'd claimed as ours. "Just for the summer." "You don't owe them anything," I said, too fast, too angry. He squeezed my hand. "It's not about owing. It's about showing up. I can't abandon my dad in a hospital bed, Jamie." I nodded, but I hated it. Hated the thought of him returning to a place that never welcomed him, to people who only saw what they feared. "Promise me something," I said. He tilted his head. "Anything. Don't shrink." He exhaled slowly. "I'll try." I kissed him goodbye in the parking lot, even though two old men near the gas pumps turned to stare. He kissed me back. Then he left. The texts became shorter after the first week. Then fewer. Then suddenly none for 2 days. My mind spiraled. What if they took his phone? What if they made him delete me? What if he changed his mind? On the third day, I got a photo. Just his hand holding a paper napkin with a doodled heart and the words, "I miss you." And I broke down crying on the kitchen floor. My sister found me there 20 minutes later, cheeks wet, phone clutched like a lifeline. She didn't ask questions. She just sat next to me and held my shoulder until I could breathe again. The next few weeks passed in an anxious haze. I worked part-time at the bookstore downtown and came home to a house that felt too quiet, too still. Every buzz from my phone sent my pulse racing. Eli called once at 3 a.m. "I had to sneak out to talk to you," he whispered, breathless. "I feel like I'm back in high school. Like I'm 15 again, hiding in the basement so my brother doesn't hear." "Are you okay?" I asked. "I don't know," he said. "Sometimes I feel like I'm losing everything I found this year. Like I left the real me back in New York." "You didn't," I whispered. "He's still there. Just a little bruised." He was quiet for a long time. Then, "Tell me about your day." So I did. Every detail. From the customer who asked if the dictionary was alphabetized, to the cat who wandered into the shop and refused to leave. He laughed. God, I missed that laugh. "Thanks," he said. "For reminding me who I am." July hit hard. Eli called less. He sounded tired. Worn out. I knew something was wrong, but he never said it directly. Just phrases like rough day or dad still not talking to me or mom changed the subject when I mentioned school. I offered to fly down. He told me no. You don't belong here, Jamie. This place it'll try to swallow you whole. Then let me pull you out, I said. Silence. Then a whispered, I don't know if I can be what you need anymore. That was the first crack. I got a message from his old roommate, Sam, near the end of July. Hey. Just a heads up. Eli deleted his Instagram. I checked. Gone. My heart dropped. I tried to call. No answer. I tried again the next day. Straight to voicemail. I didn't sleep for 2 nights. Every worst-case scenario flooded my head. Had something happened? Had his family done something? Had he? Then finally, an email. From eli.thatcher@gmail.com. Subject, I'm sorry. Jamie. I didn't know how else to say it. I can't be what you need. Not now. Not there. Not in the way you deserve. I still love you. That hasn't changed. But I think maybe I was wrong. Maybe this was just a phase for me. Please don't write back. E. I read it 3 times before I let myself cry. The worst part wasn't the breakup. It was the lie in it. He did love me. I knew it. And that made it so much harder. August came. And then September. I went back to campus with a hollow chest and a fake smile. People asked where Eli was. I said he transferred. It wasn't true, but it was easier than the truth. I tried to move on. Hooked up once with a guy from the debate team. It felt like chewing cardboard. I apologized halfway through and left. I buried myself in classes. Took on extra shifts at the LGBTQ center. Became the guy who always had something to dope cause being alone meant thinking, and thinking meant pain. But the pain didn't leave. It just got quieter. A dull echo that lived somewhere in my ribs. I kept his sweatshirt. Washed it every week even though I never wore it. Couldn't. It smelled like him. Still. Then came the knock. It was October. Cold enough to see your breath, burly enough that the quad was still dusted in gold. 3 months. That's how long it had been. And there he was. Standing in front of my dorm room door like he'd never left. No hoodie. No smile. Just a duffel bag and eyes that looked like they hadn't slept in weeks. I was wrong, he said. I stared at him. Words locked in my throat. He took a breath. About everything. About us. About me. I lied to you because I thought it would protect you. I thought if I let you go, maybe you'd find someone who didn't need fixing. You don't need fixing, I said. He nodded slowly. That's what I came to believe. But it took losing you to see it. I stepped back. Not out of fear but because I needed space to feel. And then I stepped forward again and hugged him like I'd waited centuries. He held me like he'd forgotten how to breathe without it. I thought you'd hate me, he whispered. I did, I said, eyes wet. Then I missed you too much to keep it up. He laughed. Soft. Broken. Real. Are you staying? I asked. If you'll have me. I let him in. Not just into the room. Into everything. Letting him back in wasn't like flipping a switch. Love doesn't restart where it left off, it rebuilds. Piece by piece. Slowly. Tenderly. Sometimes painfully. For the first few days, Eli barely left my dorm room. He slept a lot. Ate little. Said even less. I didn't push. I just existed beside him, gave him space to be whatever he needed, a shadow, a memory, a boy too tired to explain. On the fourth night, he finally told me everything. My dad, he didn't talk to me for 6 weeks, he whispered. Not one word. Just stared through me like I was a stranger. I said nothing. Just listened. My mom kept trying to fix it. She'd pray over dinner. Leave pamphlets in my room. Sent me to talk to Pastor Jim. He laughed bitterly. Pastor Jim said I needed to confess. As if love is some kind of sin you can scrub out with enough shame. I reached for his hand. He let me. And the worst part, he continued. There were moments I believed them. I started thinking maybe they were right. That I'd ruined something. That I was something broken. You're not, I said, squeezing gently. I know that now. But I didn't then. And I hated myself for it. And I hated you for loving me anyway. That broke something in me. Because I had loved him anyway. Through silence. Through distance. Through every unanswered call and bitter lie he thought would protect me. I never stopped waiting, I said. I know, he whispered. That's what scared me the most. We started again. But slower this time. No grand declarations. No pretending pain hadn't left scars. We took long walks. Ate meals together again. Held hands under the table before we were brave enough to do it over it. I watched him come back to life in pieces. The boy who once shrank in his skin began to stretch again. His laugh came easier. His voice louder. He started sketching again, pages filled with inked faces, hands clasped in love, boys on rooftops with stars behind their eyes. He drew us. I want to get this tattooed, he said one morning, holding up a sketch of 2 silhouettes holding each other beneath a tree. One figure had my curls. The other his jawline. You'll regret it, I joked. Maybe, he said. But I regret less with you. One afternoon, we ran into Sam on campus. He froze when he saw us hand in hand, walking across the quad like we weren't afraid anymore. Eli didn't flinch. He looked Sam dead in the eye and said, I'm happy. You should try it sometime. We kept walking. We graduated the next year. Same day. Same stage. My name called first, then his. When Eli crossed the platform, he looked for me in the crowd. I raised both hands high. He grinned. I swore I saw tears. That night, we didn't go to any parties. We sat on the roof of our apartment with a bottle of cheap wine and talked about everything and nothing. What now? I asked. He leaned back on his elbows. Wherever you are, I'll figure it out. It wasn't a proposal. Not yet. But it was a promise. And sometimes, that's even more sacred. We moved to Chicago. A tiny apartment with awful heating and a sink that coughed every time we used it. But it was ours. He worked at a community center. I taught literature at a local high school. We bought plants. Burned pasta. Fought over what color to paint the walls. He asked me to marry him 3 years later. Not in a grand gesture. Not with violins or rose petals. Just us. On the couch. Sweatpants. Takeout. I don't want phases, he said. I want decades. Lifetimes. With you. I cried. Said yes. We got married in my sister's backyard. His mother didn't come. His dad didn't call. But our friends filled every seat, and my sister cried more than we did. We danced barefoot under string lights and kissed under the stars. No shame. No hiding. Just us. Years passed. We grew older. Settled into patterns. Argued about groceries. Laughed about old things. Built a life of warmth and chaos and color. And sometimes when nights were especially quiet would knock on the bedroom door before coming in, just like that very first time. A habit. A memory. A way of saying I'm still choosing you. And every time, my heart still trembled. There's a photograph on our mantel. Two boys, younger than they realized, sitting too close on a dorm room couch. One is laughing, the other staring like he already knew. Underneath, scrawled in Eli's handwriting. Not just a phase. The end.